When we're looking at the root causes of forced labor, human trafficking, I think it's really important to be thinking about the system structures and institutions that are in place that have been created by our global economy that allow forced labor to thrive.
We mostly see workers who are in conditions of extreme poverty, and part of how they wound up in conditions of forced labor was people taking advantage of that. So it's not just poverty, but it's also income inequality.
Oftentimes, workers are recruited to work in some of these in low-wage sectors such as agriculture, garment work, construction, domestic work, and they have to pay recruitment fees. In order to pay the recruitment fees, because you're poor or you're a low-wage worker, they'd have to take loans, or the money is taken directly out of their paychecks. And so if they end up in a situation of forced labor after having paid a recruitment fee, they're often not getting reimbursed those recruitment fees. They often go home and they still have the debt with interest that they have to pay back.
In many cases, the employers know that these workers also don't have any other alternatives, so they can continue to exploit them, knowing that they can't just run away and find another job, because more often than not, the employer has control over their immigration status.
And so anytime a company is paying less for cocoa, less for coffee, less for a t-shirt than what it costs to produce it, then they're relying on illegal forms of labor. They're cutting costs somewhere where they should not be able to do so, and that's going to result in environmental violations, labor violations, and forced labor in just about every single case.
And that's what happens with poverty. You can't talk about development unless you're really valuing people's work. And you're not going to get people out of poverty until you do that.
So one of the most significant impacts that the organization has been able to have is trying to increase the access to the legal systems, to justice for survivors, while increasing accountability on the traffickers and those who benefit from it.
So the U.S. Tariff Act, which is the law that we are working with here, it introduced an import prohibition against goods made using forced labor. Apart from that, we also provide technical assistance to groups around the world that want to file these forced labor allegations with U.S. Customs.
And one of the things that I've been working closely with the HTLC on is how do we ensure a remedy for workers, and remedy that is fair.
And through the last 10 years, we've seen an enormous increase in the amount of civil cases that have been filed on behalf of trafficking survivors. And we've seen hundreds and thousands of dollars actually put in the hands of survivors.
How do we create the systems and structures and institutions so that people can take care of themselves? They don't need us to rescue them. They need a fair system that they can operate under through collective action, freedom of association, right to collective bargaining.
The goal for the trade work, the strategic litigation work, is to make sure that we shift these power imbalances a little bit. And this can happen step by step, with more enforcement of the Tariff Act, with more remediation, more payments flowing out to workers, a recognition at the highest level from policymakers the importance of safeguarding the right to collectively bargain and freedom of association.
And it took HTLC's role of bringing us all together, helping to get us organized and focused around these issues. We defer to them on a lot of technical aspects of this work, but the other organizations involved also bring a lot of technical expertise. They bring connections on the ground. They bring a long history with communities that have been impacted by forced labor. And so together, we're a much stronger unit than we would be individually.
But that is an enormous power dynamic differential in that the corporations that we want to go up against, they have bottomless pockets, they have enormous resources. And the only way in which we can meaningfully combat that and really obtain our goals of ending forced labor in the global supply chain is if we use every single tool and every single partner that we have.